Hi everyone and welcome back to our channel. This is your host AC Leroux, and in today's episode what I'm going to show you is how you can create a cash flow forecast, which is also known as an S-curve, from your Microsoft project schedules. Now this is something that I find contractors usually struggle with. Sometimes it's compulsory, especially if you're doing government projects, to provide this ongoing and dynamic financial forecasts to see how it changes as you progress. And if it's something that you've struggled with in the past, then this tutorial is for you, because by the end, hopefully you'll be able to create your own professional cash flow graph that aligns with your project timeline and shows you the budget forecast and also changes as you update your schedule going forward. Right, so let's get started. Now, like all good things in project management, you need to have a schedule that's set up to have costs, obviously, to do the financial forecast. And this you can achieve in two ways. The first one is simply to open up your cost column and to manually punch in the values against each of your works breakdown structure items or items in your schedule. The second option, which is much more accurate, is to build a schedule from scratch that contains your resources already. So in this case, you'll have a resource list in your resource sheet and you'll assign these resources into your Gantt chart, which then creates a fully resource loaded schedule and a fully cost loaded schedule that draws those costs from the resources that you have added. Now, if you're not sure how to create a fully linked resource and cost loaded schedule, remember that we offer an MS project course that's specifically geared for construction and engineering professionals. So you can head on over to lerouxconsulting.com, check out our course over here, and this will then provide you with all the tools and everything you require to set up a schedule in the way that I've shown you in my example. So there are essentially two ways in which you can get data out of your MS project into an Excel where you can work with it and provide dashboards and graphs, etc. The first one that I want to show you, or just tell you about, I'll show you now, is this. When you go to the report tab and you click on visual reports, this allows you to export some of the data into a pivot table. But before I do that, I just want to show you the view, or let's call it the other method, which uses the task usage view. So if you go back to the task tab and you go to task usage, this is quite a handy view in MS Project because here you can see a lot of detail. There are your tasks. So each task is numbered over there, and below the task we find the exact resources that I've allocated to perform that task. So bedding to trench, for instance, you can see that I'm going to use that TLB and operate. I've got 24 cubes of bedding material, and you can see the relevant costs that is going to work or that's going to apply on that specific task or the resource, and there's the total cost for that item. And this is all in your table view. You can also add insert columns over here. So if you don't have the same view as mine, just insert columns so that you can see different aspects of the data. Then on the right hand side, we've got this spreading of values or data on a timeline. So there you can see on the bar chart side, instead of having a bar chart, it shows us the values. And if you want to change these values, you can go to the task usage format. If you click on that, you'll see sometimes your default view includes work and cost or something else. But here you can just switch off whatever you don't want to see, click whatever you want to see. And if there's details that you want to see that's not here, or you can always go to add details and you'll see there's things like baseline cost. You've got your end value metrics over here. So there's a lot of items that you can actually add or click and just allow them to show these fields on the data side window over here on the right. So I sometimes prefer this method of getting data out of MS Project. Your data integrity, there's definitely the downside of you have to do some prep work and just almost check your own data integrity, because you'll see as I can only export the data on this side. Let me show you. So what I'll do here is I'll simply roll up everything to that level. I'll decide my timeline or time scale. In this case, I think it's monthly, and my bottom tier is set at weeks. So just make sure that the count there is 1. So it's 1 week intervals. At the top, I've got the months. So that makes a bit more sense, because this is a small or a short duration project. It's only 3 months. It helps me to just show the data in weeks. It gives me a few more data points. Now, it's not that easy to get the information out of here, because if you right click here, you'll see you don't have a copy or a paste function. But what you can do is you can select it. I usually just click on that details and it selects everything. But then you have to use Control-C to copy that. And then I will go to Excel, and in Excel, I will have my already prepared, and this is where the data integrity comes from, because I'm now pasting data here on a let's call it a timeline that I've created in Excel. So you'll just have to double check that. So I've created the same timeline here. I've got my planned cash flow item, and then I simply right click and paste. And then I've got my data into Excel. Now, what I'll typically do is I'll also create a planned cash flow, but a cumulative value. So one would be per timeline or per month. And then I've got the cash flow cumulative. And this is important because this is what gives you that S curve. So I'll simply just add each time unit or time period's value into my cumulative values over there. Just open this up a bit. There we go. And this will be the S curve cash flow line, let's call it that. So then I'll just select that, and I'll select my weeks, and I'll go to my graphs. Let's do a line graph. There we go. Maybe something like that. And there you have it. There's your cash flow directly from Excel, and this you can beautify, add your data labels if you want to. You can even work this back to percentages if you want to. And now in future, when I start updating this schedule of mine, I will have my actual cash flow plus the revised cash flow. To show you how that works, I've got an updated schedule over here. So this schedule was updated at the end of January with actual progress. And if I now go into my task usage, I can go and track the differences now. So let's go into task usage. I've opened up here, I've opened up cost and actual cost just to show you. So remember, cost now means the current cost as it stands. So actual and current will be the same in the past, everything that happened up to time now. But then going forward, the cost going forward will be my actual, or the current cost going forward. So let's just roll this up to the highest level. Again, I'm going to make sure that my timeline is set to weeks. And then I'm going to copy the data. And then let's paste it here in Excel. I'm just going to paste it there for now. So that's my actual cash flow. There's also values. You do have cumulative cost value, and you do have an earned value actual cost of work performed, which is actually also cumulative. So if you want to use those values, you're welcome to. Then you don't have to do the conversion into cumulative values, but I sometimes do this because I want to see both. I want to see my monthly or weekly, and I want to see the cumulative value. All right, so let's just copy this. There we go. Wait, something went wrong. There we go. Okay, I fixed it. So now I'll just, on this chart, I'll add those values. There we go. So now I've got my three. Let's just add a there I've got my 3 cash flows now. I've got the first one, which is the baseline or planned value. I just need to name that. Then I've got my actual up to now, actual to date. And then I've got the revised one going forward. So obviously actual and revised will be the same up to this point. But then it shows me if I proceed with my schedule as it is, it's going to continue along the green line. And this is my revised cash flow up to week 13. So it's actually going to extend by 1 week. So you can see I'm actually behind schedule here on this particular project. And that's how simple it is to do a cash flow. The other method that I want to show you guys is that you can use the directly going to the project tab, the report tab, click on visual reports. And this has got much better data integrity. So you can, there's a few options here. So I usually use the task usage one because it's very much the same as this cash flow that we've done now. And then I will export from here. So if you go to view, it exports that data, but it exports it into a pivot table. So that's a much more powerful way. If you go to, this is what it opens up in Excel. If you go to task usage, you'll see you are actually able to slice and dice the data a bit better. So there's my Q1. You can open up Q4 of the previous year. You'll see there's no data there. You can close up to 2019. You can even select additional items like actual cost over here, and it'll give you the cost. It already has the cumulative cost. So this is a much more, let's call it a better standard for data integrity. And you can also then copy and paste these values into your own charts if you want to. But that's probably the best way to just extract the data from MS Project into a pivot table for your own cash flows. So the main reason why I showed you the other method that I use, this task usage, is that there's quite a few sheets that you can set up and dashboard reports that you can set up this way, which you can't do in the pivot table. For instance, if I want to see planned concrete pours, I can use that same task usage. I simply filter for the concrete pours on that project of mine or in the resource usage. And then I can see my specific pours. When is it going to take place? In what weeks? How much are we going to pour in those weeks? Where is the pour going to take place? And I can then also compare that with my actuals as I progress and I update my schedule. So that's why I wanted to show you the method of drawing out information in this format, because it opens up quite a few avenues for you. That's a bit different from the normal pivot table export that MS Project offers. All right, everyone, thanks. That concludes our video for today. I hope you've learned something and that you can apply this. Remember, if you don't know how to set up a schedule in the way that I've shown you, make sure that you visit our site at lerouxconsulting.com so that I can show you all the tips and tricks and go through a step-by-step process where you can learn how to create a schedule like this. And you can now see how important this is because it forms the basis of very good control later on. Awesome. Enjoy your day. I'll see you guys in the next episode.